All right, welcome back yet again to another one of our streams. We're gonna really kind of talk about as somebody that's watching a stream about ABA, everybody wants to know how do I go about teaching my kids effectively, or how do I go about teaching my kids, period. When we first started this whole project, and I mentioned this in a previous stream, one of actually a couple of our parents went to a ABA conference, and at the ABA conference, the professionals there were telling parents, you can't do ABA yourselves. Only a professional can do ABA. The thing is, ABA doesn't belong to anybody. ABA is just understanding how to effectively teach your child, how to effectively change their behaviors. You don't have to be a professional. You don't have to be the perfect teacher in order for your child to learn and to progress. I talked about before in terms of where all of this practice of ABA really started with kids with autism at UCLA before. Okay. And what happened was they were always taught by students at UCLA, all these undergraduates performing one-to-one therapy in 10-week segments. The students ranged all over the place in terms of skill set and ability and personalities, and they just ranged across the board. And yet these were the primary people providing one-to-one therapy to the kids that got all the results in the studies. That's the most important thing. You do not have to be perfect to be good at helping your child. You have to follow everything I tell you, everything that is laid out in exactly the right way, in these exact rules. No, you don't. This is what we're hoping to accomplish with our streams and when I work with parents, is not to give them a rule book to follow, not to give them a cookbook. Oh, these are the exact steps that you have to take. This is the exact measurement of this and that and that and that. That doesn't what makes a good teacher. What we're trying to impart on everybody is understanding how being a good teacher is. What are the different things that make you a better teacher? There are literally millions of different ways for you to teach your child something. Some things will take longer for your child to learn, and some things your child will learn much faster. My job is to always find the fastest way for your child to learn effectively and for them to retain all of the skills that they've learned for their lifetime. Now, do you need to teach everything that your child needs to know right now? No, you do not. Okay? There's always going to be a lot of different things for you to work on with your child. And what you really want to do is be smart and pick the things that are going to be the most meaningful for them and the things that you can handle right now, and target those things until they get better. And then you add on, and you can add on, you can add on. The worst thing you can do is try to do everything all the time, every single day, because nobody has the energy and nobody has the time and the resources for all that. Do you have to be stubborn? Okay. Do you have to stick to something? Do you have to keep on pushing? And the answer to that is yes. You have to be so much more stubborn than your child is, because your child is going to be stubborn about their behaviors. They're going to be stubborn about not wanting to learn some of the things you want to teach them. And this is probably the most important thing for you to learn, is to out-stubborn your child. Remember, your child's job is to get them what they want, right? Like your child, like whatever I want, my job is to get it in any way I can. For some kids, it's going to be, let me cry. For other kids, it's going to be, let me run away. For kids, it might be, let me hit you, let me spit at you, let me go lie on the floor and kick and throw a big old tantrum. But whatever it is, my job is to get you to give in to what I want. Your child's job is to make you feel as bad as possible. Because when you feel bad, that's when you start to feel guilty. And you start to feel like, oh, I feel so hurt inside. Oh, let me just, and then you just want to make it better. And how you make it better is by giving in to them. And that only makes things worse. Your job as a parent is to resist those feelings of guilt, to resist feeling bad. Okay. Now, the thing is, I'm a parent. I know you're going to feel bad. I'm not telling you you don't feel bad, but you have to resist the giving in. You have to fight against this guilt that you have that's going to let you make bad choices for your kids. Teaching your own kids is going to be the most hardest thing you'll ever have to do in your life. And that's not me joking about it. I've taught my own kids. I can go and teach a stranger's kids, and they can do all kinds of things to me. They can kick me, they can spit at me, they can do all kinds of stuff. And I have an enormous amount of patience. I can outlast them for hours, When I go about teaching my own kids, very, very quickly, those that frustrating feeling and that anger comes roaring in when you're working with your own kids. And that is normal. So you should not beat yourself up for feeling frustrated or angry, because this is the hardest thing you'll ever learn how to do. Just accept it. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really hard. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get angry. It's a part of the process. So don't beat yourself up over it. The thing that you have to learn to do is how to calm yourself down when you get frustrated and when you get mad. And this is funny because this is something I tell my wife all the time, right? Which is, how do you expect the kid to control their behaviors if you can't control your own behaviors? We always have to start with ourselves, which is like, oh, if I'm teaching my child how to behave appropriately, how to handle stress, how to handle their frustration, how to handle their anger, I have to be a good model of that as well, which means that's the single most important thing for you to learn to do, is learning how to control your own emotions. You're just going to have to take it slowly. Take one step at a time. And all that you're looking at doing is improving on what you're doing one small bit every single day. Teach and do only as much as you can handle. Okay? Don't try to do too much in the beginning. Give yourself latitude to learn how to go about doing things, and don't just like, okay, I'm going to do it all right now. Learn to teach in small but really successful amounts. Practice things more frequently rather than, here's my next hour, and for the next hour I'm going to sit my child down, I'm going to practice this. No, it's better for you to go, okay, I'm going to teach for 5 minutes, and then we're both going to rest some. Okay, then I'll call the child back. I'll work on something else for another 5 minutes and then let them go. But even then, for me, it's not about the time frame. It's about getting your child to be very, very successful when you call them over. And regardless of whether you call them over and you do it 1 time or you do it 10 times, it's about getting them to be successful and then letting them go based on their success. Don't try to rush, right? Like, the thing is that it doesn't matter how hungry you are, like you could be starving. Okay. It doesn't matter. Like, okay, my child has these skill deficits. I need them to be overcome today. Okay. It doesn't matter about that, because, well, rice takes a certain amount of time to cook. Okay. You try to rush it. I'm going to crank up the heat. You're going to end up burning it. Learn how to go at your child's pace. Don't try to rush anything. Learn how to get your child to be very, very successful. And by successful, I mean, I'm still helping them out. They just need this little assistance. It means that, don't advance anything until the child is really independent at the level that you're working on before moving it on. Learn how to be very good about getting rid of your child's behavior problems, Now, again, you want to understand, okay, why are they engaging in these problem behaviors, And most of the time, they're because they don't want to do things that you ask them to do, So you have to make sure anytime that they engage in those behaviors because they don't want to listen to you, you make them listen to you. If the child wants your attention, the worst thing you can do is to yell at them. Why? Because you're giving them exactly what they're looking for. Your child wants a piece of candy, they want something that they can't have, and they engage in a wide variety of behaviors to get it, you have to make sure they don't get it. The thing is that it's easier said than done. Remember, your child's job is to make you to feel as bad as they can make you feel so that you give in to what they want. But your job is to not fall for it, okay? Your job is to resist that feeling of being guilty, because once you start feeling guilty, then you start to do stuff you should not be doing. The best thing you can do for yourself, have a plan. Have an idea of how you're going to do it. Not just a general, this is how, a very, very specific plan about, you know what? When I go to the market, if the child misbehaves this way, this is how I'm going to handle it. But you have a game plan ahead of time rather than in the moment. You're just trying to what do I do? Just as importantly as having a plan is executing that plan. Because it doesn't matter if you have the greatest plan in the world, if you fail to execute that game plan when it's time to execute that game plan. Once it's all done, then you can look back at your game plan and see what parts of it worked, what parts of it need to be changed, and you make that change for the next time. Remember, this is really, really important for you to understand. Things are going to get worse before they get better. If your child was used to crying to get that candy, and you stop giving them that candy, guess what they're going to do? They're going to cry harder. They're going to cry longer. They might start screaming. If those things don't work, maybe I'll start hitting you, or maybe I'll start hitting myself. Maybe I'll drop to the floor and I'll flail around. And the thing you have to understand is that's expected of them. They're going to go and do those things. Why? Because you're being effective. You are able to neutralize what used to work for them that no longer works for them. So it forces them to try to find new ways to get the same thing that they were able to get just through the crying. Hopefully, all of these things that I went over are really useful and helpful for parents that are just starting off or are still kind of beginning the process of learning how to work with their own kids. So my son's here and he's going to keep on bothering me until he gets to say hi. He has a little school project that he worked on.
Let me slide across the ice.
You okay? Okay. Thanks again for joining us. If you like what we do, please hit the like button. We're here to help all parents. So if you know anybody that is struggling or that could use some help in terms of helping their kids, please let them know about us. Subscribe and then let people know about us. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. We'll see you next week. Everybody have a great rest of the week.